Sir, step away from the residence.
Why would I step away from my own house?
We got a call about a suspicious male.
I'm the homeowner. You're standing on my property.
I'm calling back up until we sort this
You
out.
just made $1 million mistake.
At 3:47 p.m. on a sunny Sunday afternoon, dispatch received a call from 2847 Laurelhurst Drive. 911, what's your emergency? Hi, I want to report someone who looks suspicious. There's a black man in my neighbor's yard, and I don't think he lives there. What is the person doing? He's watering the lawn, but I've never seen him before. Is he breaking into the house or damaging property? Well, no, but he just doesn't look like he belongs in this neighborhood. Can you send someone to check? The dispatcher, following protocol, sent Officer Foster to verify the situation. But the caller, who'd moved to the street just 3 weeks earlier, hadn't bothered to introduce herself to any neighbors, including James Mitchell, who'd owned his home for 6 years. What the Bodycam captured Officer Foster's Bodycam activated as he pulled up to the house. The footage, which would later be viewed over 6 million times, shows a peaceful suburban scene, well-maintained lawns, expensive cars in driveways, children's bikes on porches. It's 3:52 p.m., clear skies, temperature 72 degrees. James Mitchell, a 41-year-old software engineer, is standing in his front yard in khaki shorts and a polo shirt, watering the flower beds he and his wife had planted the previous spring. A garden hose is in his right hand. His wedding ring is visible. His garage is open, showing his BMW and his wife's SUV inside. Foster exits his patrol car and immediately approaches with aggressive body language, his hand resting on his belt near his weapon. Sir, I need you to step away from that property. James turns, startled, water still running from the hose. Step away? This is my house. I live here. His tone is confused, not confrontational. His body language is open. He's literally holding a garden hose, possibly the least threatening object imaginable. Foster's response is where things go off the rails. Dispatch, I need backup. Possible trespassing situation. James's face, in the Bodycam footage, shows pure disbelief. Backup? I'm watering my lawn. My name is on the deed. Do you think calling backup on someone watering their lawn is reasonable? Drop your answer below. Foster's voice sharpens. Sir, calm down. You're being aggressive. James gestures with his free hand, the one not holding the garden hose. I'm holding a garden hose. How am I being aggressive? This is when you can hear the neighbor approaching. Margaret Sullivan, a retired teacher who'd lived on the street for 23 years, had been gardening in her own yard and heard the confrontation. She walks over quickly. Officer, that's James. He's lived here for 6 years. He and his wife Sarah own that house. Foster doesn't even look at her. Ma'am, step back. This is a police matter. Margaret's voice rises in frustration. Police matter? He's watering his lawn. I'm his neighbor. I know him. By now, backup sirens are audible approaching in the distance. James sets down the hose, carefully, raising both hands. His voice is measured, but you can hear the anger underneath. Officer, I'm James Mitchell. I'm a software engineer. I work for Intel. I've owned this house since 2018. I have my ID inside. My wife is inside. Our mortgage statement is inside. What do you need me to do to prove I live in my own house? Foster's response. I need you to provide identification immediately. My wallet is inside my house. I was doing yard work. Can I go get it? No, you cannot enter the house until I verify you're supposed to be here. The absurdity of the situation is captured perfectly on Bodycam. A man is being prevented from entering his own home to get identification to prove he lives in the home he's being prevented from entering. Margaret tries again. Officer, I can verify he lives here. Our kids play together. We've had dinner at their house. Foster finally addresses her directly. Ma'am, how long have you lived on this street? 23 years. And you're certain this man lives in that house? Yes, absolutely certain. He's lived there for 6 years. This is ridiculous. Should neighbor testimony be enough to resolve a situation like this? Let me know what you think. The situation escalates. At this point, 2 backup units arrive, 4 additional officers responding to a possible trespassing call. The Bodycam shows them exiting their vehicles, hands near weapons, approaching a man standing in his own yard holding a garden hose. James, seeing multiple officers arriving, makes a decision that likely prevented this from becoming even worse. He sits down on his front lawn, crosses his legs, and places his hands on his knees in clear view. Officers, I'm sitting down. My hands are visible. I'm not a threat. I'm the homeowner. My neighbor is vouching for me. I need someone to verify with property records that I own this house, or let me go inside to get my ID. One of the backup officers, Officer Maria Santos, seems to immediately grasp that something is wrong with this situation. Foster, what's the situation here? Possible trespassing. Subject refuses to provide ID. Santos looks at James sitting peacefully on the lawn, then at the house, then at Margaret standing nearby. Sir, do you have any ID on you? No, ma'am. I was doing yard work. My wallet is inside my house. Santos turns to Margaret. You know this gentleman? Yes. That's James Mitchell. He and his wife Sarah have lived here for 6 years. Their daughter goes to Laurelhurst Elementary with my grandson. Santos pulls out her phone and runs a quick property records check, something Foster should have done immediately. Within 30 seconds, she has the answer. Property owner is James Mitchell, purchased in 2018 for $725,000. She turns to Foster. He's the homeowner. Foster, instead of de-escalating, doubles down. He still needs to show ID to verify he's James Mitchell. Santos's patience is clearly wearing thin. Sir, she addresses James. If we escort you to your door, can you retrieve your ID? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The wife emerges. This is when Sarah Mitchell, James's wife, opens the front door. She'd been working in her home office and had heard the sirens but assumed they were passing by. Now she sees her husband sitting on their lawn surrounded by 6 police officers. The body cam captures her reaction. James? What's happening? James, still sitting calmly with his hands visible, responds, I was watering the lawn. Someone called the police. They won't let me get my ID. Sarah walks out onto the porch, her phone in her hand. Officers, what is going on? This is our house. We own this house. Santos steps forward. Ma'am, are you Sarah Mitchell? Yes, I'm Sarah Mitchell. That's my husband James. This is our house. Why are there 6 police officers in our yard? We received a call about a suspicious person. We're just verifying the situation. Sarah's voice rises. Suspicious? Person? He's watering our lawn. At our house. That we own. She holds up her phone. I have our mortgage statement right here. I have our property tax bill. I have our IDs. We've lived here for 6 years. Officer Santos, clearly trying to end this situation, says, Mrs. Mitchell, can you bring your husband's ID out here? Sarah goes back inside and returns 20 seconds later with James's wallet. She hands it to Santos, who verifies the ID matches the property records. Mr. Mitchell, I apologize for the confusion. You're free to go about your day. James stands slowly, his voice controlled but angry. Confusion? Officer, I was watered my lawn at my own house. A neighbor vouched for me. I told you my name and that I'm the owner. You called backup on a man holding a garden hose. You prevented me from entering my own home. This isn't confusion. This is racial profiling. Should officers apologize when they're wrong? Comment your thoughts. The aftermath at the scene. As the officers prepare to leave, Margaret, the neighbor, is visibly upset. This is unacceptable. James is one of the nicest people on this street. He coaches youth soccer. He helped me when my husband had a heart attack, and you treated him like a criminal for watering his lawn. Another neighbor, drawn by the sirens, has come out. Then another. Within 10 minutes, 8 neighbors are standing in the street, all expressing outrage at what happened. James has lived here for years. He's on the neighborhood watch committee. His daughter sells Girl Scout cookies on this street. We've had barbecues at his house. The body cam footage captures all of this. A community rallying around a homeowner who was treated as a suspect for the crime of existing while black in his own yard. Foster, faced with this neighborhood uprising, finally gets in his patrol car and leaves. But the damage is done, and it's all on camera. The investigation's Sarah Mitchell, a corporate attorney, immediately filed a formal complaint with Portland police. She also contacted a civil rights attorney and requested all body cam footage from the incident. When the footage was reviewed, several things became clear. 1. Foster had made no attempt to verify James's claim to be the homeowner before calling backup. 2. He had ignored the neighbor's vouching. 3. He had escalated rather than de-escalated 4. He had called 6 officers to deal with a man watering his lawn 5. He had referred to James as aggressive when James was clearly calm and compliant. Portland Police Internal Affairs opened an investigation. They discovered this wasn't Foster's first complaint. In his 8 years with the department, he'd accumulated 17 formal complaints. 14 of them involved black men. 12 of those were situations where Foster had assumed black men didn't belong in affluent neighborhoods. One complaint from 2 years earlier was eerily similar. Foster had detained a black man outside a home in the same Laurelhurst neighborhood. That man turned out to be a doctor who'd lived there for a decade. The complaint had resulted in a written warning and mandatory bias training. Foster had attended the training and apparently learned nothing. The viral video Sarah Mitchell posted a portion of the Bodycam footage on social media with a simple caption, "My husband was watering our lawn at our house that we own. This is what happened." The video went viral within hours. 6.2 million views in the first 48 hours. 284,000 shares. 67,000 comments. The comments ranged from supportive to outraged to darkly humorous. Called backup on a man with a garden hose. What did he think was going to happen? Death by overwatering. 89,000 likes. The neighbor literally said, "He's lived here 6 years," and the cop said, "This is a police matter." What matter? The matter of a man watering flowers. 72,000 likes. 6. Officers. 4. A. Garden. Hose. 54,000 likes. That man sat down on his own lawn with his hands visible like he was being arrested at his own house. 94,000 likes. Local news picked it up. Then national news. CNN ran a segment. The New York Times wrote an article about racial profiling in affluent neighborhoods. The Bodycam footage became a teaching tool about implicit bias and police overreaction. Portland's mayor issued a statement. "This incident does not reflect the values of our city or our police department. We are investigating thoroughly." The lawsuit 4 months after the incident, James and Sarah Mitchell filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against Officer Derek Foster and the Portland Police Bureau. The complaint alleged Fourth Amendment violation, unlawful detention, racial profiling and discrimination, intentional infliction of emotional distress, false imprisonment, preventing James from entering his home, failure to properly train and supervise against the Bureau. The complaint included devastating details. Foster had 17 prior complaints, 14 involving black men. Foster had attended bias training after previous complaints but showed no behavior change. The Bureau had failed to discipline Foster despite the pattern. The Bureau's policies allowed officers like Foster to continue working despite documented bias. The Mitchells weren't just seeking compensation, they wanted Foster removed from patrol and wanted policy changes. The settlement negotiations, Portland's city attorneys reviewed the case and quickly realized they had no defense. The Bodycam footage was damning. Multiple witnesses supported James's account. Property records confirmed ownership. Foster's complaint history showed a clear pattern. The national attention made this politically untenable. They approached the Mitchells' attorney about settlement. The initial offer was $150,000. The Mitchells rejected it. "This isn't about money," Sarah told reporters. "This is about accountability. My husband was treated like a criminal at our own home. We want to make sure this doesn't happen to another family." The city came back with $400,000. Rejected. $650,000. Rejected. Finally, 18 months after the incident, the city settled for $1 million, plus agreement to specific policy changes. Officers must attempt to verify property ownership before detaining someone at a residence. Neighbor vouching must be given significant weight. Officers with patterns of similar complaints must undergo enhanced review. Bodycam footage and civil rights complaints must be preserved and reviewed by oversight. Annual training on implicit bias with testing and accountability. Do you think $1 million is enough for this kind of violation? Let me know below. What happened to Foster? Officer Derek Foster was terminated from the Portland Police Bureau 3 months after the incident. The termination letter cited failure to properly investigate before escalating the situation, calling unnecessary, backup, wasting department resources, ignoring credible witness testimony, pattern of similar complaints showing inability to serve without bias. Conduct unbecoming of an officer. Foster appealed through the police union. The union argued he was following training and had reasonable suspicion to investigate. The arbitrator upheld the termination. Officer Foster called 6 officers to respond to a man watering his lawn. He ignored property records. He ignored a credible witness. He prevented a homeowner from entering his own home. He has a documented pattern of similar behavior. This is not about one mistake. This is about an officer who cannot perform his duties without bias. Foster's name was entered into the National Decertification Index, preventing him from working as a police officer in any U.S. jurisdiction. The broader impact. The James Mitchell case became a flashpoint in discussions about racial profiling and policing. For law enforcement training, the Bieri is Yell. Bodycam footage is now used in police academies nationwide as an example of what not to do. Training scenarios ask, what should Foster have done differently? The answers are obvious. Run property records immediately. Listen to the witness vouching for the resident. Recognize that someone watering a lawn at a house is likely the resident. De-escalate rather than escalate for homeowners. The case resonated with black homeowners nationwide who shared similar stories. Being questioned while checking their mail. Being stopped while entering their own homes. Being reported for suspicious behavior while doing yard work, having to prove they belong in neighborhoods they've lived in for years. For neighbors, the case sparked conversations about responsible 911 use. Don't call the police on people simply for being in your neighborhood. Introduce yourself to neighbors before assuming they're suspicious. Understand that doesn't look like they belong is often code. For racial bias. For cities, Portland's $1 million settlement was part of a larger trend. Cities across the country have paid tens of millions in settlements for similar racial profiling cases, money that could have been spent on schools, infrastructure, or community programs. The human cost beyond the money and the policy changes, there was a human cost to what happened to James Mitchell. In an interview 6 months after the settlement, James described the lasting impact. I can't water my lawn anymore without anxiety. Every time I'm in my front yard, I'm hyper-aware of who's watching. My daughter asked me why the police came to our house. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that someone called the police on Daddy because they didn't think he belonged in his own yard? Sarah added, we love this house. We saved for years to buy it. We put so much work into making it our home. But now every time I see a police car on our street, my heart rate spikes. That's not how you should feel in your own neighborhood. The Mitchells used part of the settlement to establish a fund supporting families affected by racial profiling. They also became advocates for police reform, speaking at city council meetings and community events. The neighbor who called. The neighbor who made the initial 911 call moved away 6 months after the incident. Multiple neighbors had confronted her about the call, and she'd become a pariah on the street. She never apologized to the Mitchells. Margaret Sullivan, the neighbor who vouched for James, became close friends with the Mitchell family. I've lived in this neighborhood for over 2 decades. I've seen it change and grow. What happened to James was shameful, but seeing how this community came together to support him, that gives me hope. The policy changes, Portland's new policies, implemented as part of the settlement, have had measurable effects. 911 dispatchers now ask more detailed questions before sending officers to suspicious person calls. Officers are required to attempt basic verification before calling backup for non-emergency situations. Bodycam review has caught and corrected several similar situations before they escalated. Annual bias training now includes case studies, including the Mitchell case. Other cities have adopted similar policies, citing the Portland settlement as a wake-up call. The takeaways. The James Mitchell case offers clear lessons. For police officers, verify before you escalate. Listen to witnesses. Recognize that people doing normal activities are probably doing normal activities. Your body cam is always recording. Act accordingly. Patterns of complaints mean something. For 911 callers, carambas. Suspicious should mean actual suspicious behavior, not just someone you don't recognize. Ask yourself if you're calling because of actual danger or because of bias. False reports waste resources and can ruin lives for communities. Welcome neighbors instead of suspecting them. Speak up when you witness injustice. Support those who are treated unfairly. For cities, take complaint patterns seriously before they become lawsuits. Body cameras protect everyone when footage is reviewed properly. Settlements are expensive. Prevention is cheaper. Comment if you think all 911 calls about suspicious people should be recorded and reviewed for bias. And if these body cam stories matter to you, hit that subscribe button. The lasting image. The image that stays with people who watch the body cam footage isn't the moment Foster called backup, or even the moment he prevented James from entering his own home. It's the image of James Mitchell sitting peacefully on his own lawn, hands visible on his knees, surrounded by 6 police officers, all because he'd been watering the flowers in his own yard. A man sitting on his own lawn at his own house, treating police presence as a threat he needed to de-escalate in the neighborhood where he paid property taxes and coached youth soccer. That image captured something fundamental about the experience of being black in America, that you can do everything right, own your home, maintain your lawn, be a good neighbor, and still be treated as if you don't belong. Foster's body cam captured it all. The evidence was undeniable. Justice eventually was served. But the fact that it took a viral video, a lawsuit, and $1 million settlement to achieve that justice. That's the part that shouldn't be forgotten, because sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones that should have been learned for free. And sometimes a 12-second body cam clip of a man holding a garden hose is all you need to expose a system that's broken.